It's a time for a package from China. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. It's awesome that you're tuning in. So in this video I wanted to take a close look at the Gamebox Power SUP M3. So this is the new model from our friends from China. They are selling these SUP handhelds and there are quite some different versions out there, but this is more like an all-in-one. So let's take a close look at the specification and let's do an unboxing, play some games and let's see what we're going to get with this handheld. Okay, the model number is the M3 model. This is the latest 2021 model called the Gamebox Power. It comes with a 1020 milliamp battery inside, not a huge one, and it will give you only a couple of hours of playtime. Screen size 3.0, just a normal LCD, no IPS and not a fancy LCD display inside of course, because it's just more like a budget device. But okay, so having compatibility with NES, Super Famicom, Game Boy Advance, MAME and also Mega Drive. So quite interesting how the game will emulate, because it's a little bit more of a mixed bag when it comes to these cheap handhelds. Okay, so let's take a close look at the handheld itself. The handheld itself, this is the blue edition. I ordered this time in blue edition, not the red one. There are quite some different colors out there, depends on, of course, what kind of resale we're going to get. But let's take a close look at it later. So let's take a close look at first the cabling, because we're going to get this very horrible cheap micro USB cable. We're going to need to buy a separate 5V power supply, or you can of course charge it with your PC. We're going to get an AV out cable for the TV out function, and not to forget, we're going to get a toilet paper manual with some basic explanations and specification out about the product itself. Okay, so let's take a close look at the handheld itself. So here at the right side we're going to get the on and off switch volume control. At the top there is nothing, the left we're having the CF card, and at the bottom we're going to get the AV out with the micro USB for charging. Kind of interesting that they're putting them on the bottom and not on the top, so we can remove the battery and replace them or take multiple batteries with us. I'm always making a review, doesn't think so. So finally we managed to remove the freaking cover. So what is interesting, that it is not the same battery that they were saying on the box. This is a 1201 version. There are a couple of different versions out there. These are basically the Nokia batteries from back in the day. Slightly limited damage over here, so that is not a good thing. But in general, these things are freaking cheap and very easy to find. So if you want to have a replacement or some extra ones, you can basically pick them up for a couple of dollars and have some fun. Okay, so let's put it back in. Let's take a close look at the layout and how everything works, because I think there's a lot of things changed out there with the older version. So this version also has the same layout. There is no D-pad. The only thing that we're going to get is a 6-button layout. We're having a select, start and a menu button. And the menu button is mostly needed when you want to get into the quick load, quick save when you're playing a game. Okay guys, so what are we going to get with the controls? So we're having here the select, start and the home button. The AB, they call it the R and L, more like the shoulder buttons that we don't have here at the back. They just basically moved it up the front. And the X and the Y. Take consideration with these cheap handhelds is that the feel is quite cheap, and that's what we're going to get and that you can already expect. Okay, so the analog stick is just the same story, more like a slider stick like the PlayStation Portable, not to be compared with an original Sony product, but it's responsive. But the question remains, how does it work? Okay, so let's take a close look at the menu itself. The menu is similar like the previous models, and better said, like a lot of these Gamebox cheap handhelds. We're having here the shortcuts, and the shortcuts, I'm not a big fan of them. If the file gets corrupted or is going to be like lost because of due of maybe in bad corruption on your CF card, you are done with this and you can't use the shortcut anymore, and you can also not remove it. We're having the platforms that the system supports. Okay, let's open up the settings. Normal settings, this is just basically for the language, product information. If you're going to press this, you can see how many room you still have left on the CF card. Okay, pressing the home, you go back. Factory default, never use this. The output is for the TV out that we're going to use later on. Then we're having the power settings. When we go into this, you can see more like this is a screensaver to save some juice for your battery. Nevertheless, there's no brightness control. Kind of weird in my opinion that it locked up the system so poorly that we cannot change out the brightness function. It's kind of weird. So the first thing I'm noticing with the analog stick, it is not that bad, because the form factor of the joystick in combination with the slider joystick, it is not bad. But I did notice that the cheap handhelds can have a problem with Game Boy Advance. You can already see a lot of screen tearing. Oh, and it sounds quite awful. There is no delay in the sound of the rings. That is also a common problem with these cheap handhelds. Still a decent frame rate if you can live with the way you need to play this game. They didn't map all the freaking buttons. That's the reason why I can't shoot. What just happened? Did it just freeze or what? Alright, it seems to be... Okay, it did get an input from the start, but I was not pressing the start button. So this is just a great example of what you're going to get with the SUP Handheld. They completely messed up the button configuration. And there is no way, so far I know, for chaining it out. So even when you're pressing the home button, you can see there is no option for control configuration.
Help me to find it. It might be dangerous.
It's time for some pirates. Die hard, baby. Let's go. And I'm already dead. Seems to be with MAME emulation that it works just fine. I can see that it runs pretty decent and it has all of the sound effects. Something that like in Pandora box is missing all the freaking time. Okay guys, so let's try out the TV out function and let's see how it looks on this widescreen, because this is going to be interesting. Okay, so let's play the same game over again. Quite interesting that it forces back to 4:3, that is something that doesn't happen normally. So it's a little bit cut off over there, but you can also, I don't know if you can hear it on the microphone, but there is some interference. Oh, that looks really bad. But yeah guys, so we're having the TV out function on this very cheap handheld. And it works plug and play. Shut up. You need to run, Arnold. You need to get to the chopper. Okay guys, so this is what we're going to get with the Gamebox Power SUP M3. Is it a really new version compared with the older model? I think they didn't change out a lot of things. And when it comes to the emulation, it's just a mixed bag. And I mean with this, it's more like some games are running fine, but some are just really choppy. But this is what we're going to get with the M3. I want to thank you for watching. Consider subscribing, hit the bell, become one of the Wicked family. And I will see you in the next video.